But from what our knowledge of the flow of the heart, the blood flow in the heart, so we will already know how the flow will be recorded through electrodes. So these electrodes are those that are placed in your body to get your EKG, your electrocardiogram. So it will determine the proper flow of the blood in your heart. And if there's something wrong with your valves, the chambers may be weak, or the valves may have some murmurs, and so on and so forth. So normal EKG indicates that your heart is normal. If you look at the R and an R, so one R to another R is a measure of one heartbeat. So you know this EKG has a grid, right? So these grids will have a measure between one heartbeat to another heartbeat. Sometimes it's also called cardiac cycle. So in this chapter we will be learning the waves of EKG, the sounds of the heart which emanate from the valves, the four valves, the two AV valves, tricuspid and mitral or bicuspid, and then the semilunar valves, which is the pulmonary and the aortic. So now, right now you know already those valves and the chambers, right? And then systole and diastole are measures of blood pressure, especially the wall of your blood vessels. And this systole indicates ventricular contraction, and then diastole indicates relaxation. Okay, so overall, your ventricles and your atria will relax and contract, but the real systole is when your ventricles contract, because the pressure in the ventricles have to be the greatest of them all, so that the blood coming from the heart back to the circulation or back to the body tissues and also the lungs will have to be taken out from the heart. So, and then we have the pressure changes associated with it, and of course your cardiac cycle, which is the measurement of one heartbeat to the other. So we will know for sure what's happening inside of your heart. Where's the blood coming from? Where's the diastole? Where's the systole? How the pressure changes during diastole and during systole. Okay, so electrocardiogram or EKG or ECG has really 5 waves, and then it's a measurement of deflection of these electric waves. So one is we have the P wave. The P wave, please note the red one. The red is the key word for the meaning of P wave. It represents atrial depolarization, okay? And in this case, the P wave represents the time when the SA node, your pacemaker, okay, depolarizes, okay? So if you look here, that's the P, that's atrial depolarization, okay? Next, QRS in the EKG. So QRS in EKG represents ventricular depolarization. So the beginning of contraction on the ventricle. So it has, of course, it's composed of 3 separate waves, Q, the R, and the S, okay, waves, okay? And here is your QRS. So these represent ventricular depolarization. It's masking after the repolarization of the atria. So you have the depolarization of the ventricles. When you say depolarization, beginning of contraction. Depolarization, beginning of the contraction, right? Yeah. And of course, the next wave will be the T wave. The T wave represents ventricular repolarization. It indicates relaxation. So T waves, okay? So again, P wave, QRS wave, and then you have your T wave, okay? So that has to be known by you, because later on, with these waves, we will try to determine where is the blood flow going on the chambers and down into the valves, then to the lungs, out, and then to the tissues of the body. Okay? So we'll try to put them together. So EKG are periods of waves, so important. This is the electrical activity of the heart. So intervals include the component of at least one wave. So within one wave and another wave and another wave, so there is always meaning. So what's happening in your heart? It's the pressure in your heart, the flow of the blood in your heart, the condition of your cardiac muscles in your heart. Okay, so again, with this consecutive, okay, period between waves, we have another interpretation of the EKG, R to R. What is R to R interval? So it means two successive R waves means it represents the duration and spread the action potential throughout the heart. So R to R, as I've told you, it's one heartbeat here, one heartbeat here, one. The first heartbeat is R, second heartbeat is R again in your EKG. Okay, so that's how it is determined. So it is used as a heart rate. So in 1 minute, if your heart beats 75 beats per minute, you have 75 R's. You understand? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So that's our wave. And then we have another P to R. What is a P to R interval? So again, so if you look here, so there's a period from the P wave to the QRS. So it is a period of depolarization of atria to the depolarization of the ventricles, right? Because QRS is the depolarization of the ventricles. So it says here, so it time that takes from depolarization of this A node to spread through the atria to the ventricles. So it covers depolarization of the atria and depolarization of the ventricles. So these P and R interval. So next is Q and a T. So Q and a T should be down. It's a lower deflection. So it is the beginning of QRS. Okay, so you have UQ. So the beginning of QRS, depolarization of ventricles, down to the T wave. So that Q to T interval ventricles is undergoing action potential of the heart. So action potential is the beginning of the contraction or systole. So again, I said systole is contraction, diastole is relaxation. Okay, so that's the Q, T, entire duration of ventricular action potential. So that's when the action potential is in the ventricles, the right ventricle's blood go to the pulmonary trunk, okay, to the lungs, and then on the left side of the ventricle, the blood goes into aortic valve to the aorta, to the all over the body. So you understand that? Okay? Okay, so you need to have a very, very analytical knowledge of the heart. As I've told you, you have to begin to understand the flow of the blood in the heart so that you will understand everything here. This is not only EKG, we'll be studying also the cardiac cycle, the contraction, and then the relaxation of the heart. Okay, so the last one is the S to T segments. So you have that S wave, which is from QRS, S to T. What's happening from S to T interval? So that segment is a plateau. It's a plateau phase of the when there is no change in electrical activity. So this is our, in our action potential, the refractory period. Okay? When there is a plateau, it allows the atria to flow the blood to fill up the ventricles. The S to T. Okay? Okay, so that's the ventricle plateau phase. That's the S to T. Okay? So, in other words, if you will understand all of these, P, Q, R, S, and then the T, and then interval R to R, okay? Interval P to S, interval S to T, so then you're good onto understanding the flow of the blood in the heart. And opening and closing of the valves, then and transport of the blood from right atrium, right ventricle, lungs, left ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, body. like zombies. But you should have read this weekend or Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 5 days. So you don't look like zombies. So it's understanding, it's not much like memorization. So please, more. Okay, so now we'll talk about the abnormal. Okay. So the abnormal is called dysrhythmia. So it means to say there is no rhythm of the heartbeat. So maybe one heartbeat very long, or one heartbeat each is very close to each other, or sometimes the doctor will hear sounds on the heart. Okay, and when you hear a big sound or a murmur or regurgitation, yes, it is not good. But the sounds that you hear, like the sound 1 and the sound 2, that's fine, as long as it is rhythmic. But if it is not rhythmic, it looks like electric charges, like short circuit, so that means there's something wrong with the heart. Okay? So in this case, so this arrhythmia provides information of the structure, conduction, overall health of the heart. So it's a disturbance of electrical rhythm, so that your QRS-T are really going crazy. Huh? Okay, not the one that you saw and the beautiful AKG, normal AKG. Okay, so look at this one. So this one is we call tachycardia. What's tachycardia? Tachycardia
Rapid heartbeat.
Very
Fast.
fast heartbeat. It should be more than 100 beats per minute. Normally we have heart rate of 75. So if it goes more than 100 tachycardia, okay? And it will look like this. The R is so close to each other, right? So we have the R here and R here close to each other. Now, in this case, you also see heart block at the AV node. AV node is the next to the SA node, right? So if you look here, your P goes crazy again. So the P, which is depolarization, you have two of those. One here and one there. So it's a premature, yes. And then if you look at the QRS, it's very much apart from each other. So that is not also normal. And then you have the fibrillation. The fibrillation don't have a specific P or S or a T wave. There's just a spike of QRS, which is the polarization of the ventricles. But after that, so all of that is like very abnormal wave. So this one is abnormal, that one is abnormal, that one is abnormal, that one is abnormal, that one is abnormal. And finally, this is really so bad. So ventricular fibrillation is you cannot even reach up to this highest point of the R, where the ventricles will really depolarize and have that particular action potential to inject the blood coming from the right ventricle to the lungs and the left ventricle to the aorta. Okay, so now we know EKG, the waves, right? So we're going now to the cardiac cycle. So what is the cardiac cycle? It's a sequence of events that take place from one heartbeat to the next. It's a sequence of events. So sequencing the events also connotes your EKG, because sequence of events at the beginning of P is the depolarization of SA node. Remember the conduction pathway. So from SA node, then to AV node, and then Purkinje fibers. So the electric signal will come from SA node. Okay, it will start the action potential, go to the AV node, the Purkinje fibers. The Purkinje fibers run along the left and right ventricles. So when these two ventricles depolarize, that's the time that there is action potential. So this is the event of everything, what's happening inside the heart. Okay, so heartbeat is a coordinated contraction of the heart, so the muscle cells produce, yes, that ringing action, so when the heart contracts. So as we know, the heart muscle contract once at same time in one. Okay? It's not like your muscle here or muscle there or muscle there, that it individually contracts, not the heart, because of the presence of what?
Say that again.
Presence of what in the heart? Intercalated disc.
Disc.
Okay? So, pressure changes also will drive the blood flow within the heart. So, okay. So here, for example, using the left ventricle as an example of these, so similar action will be on the right side. So it is always simultaneous. Okay, this is what happens. On the right side of the heart, which is the right atrium, right? The blood flows, okay, from the systemic. So, and it is unoxygenated. On the left side of the heart, which is also the left atrium, the blood flows coming from the lungs, right? Okay, with oxygenated. So, in this case, they do simultaneously together, okay? From the left side, from the lungs, on the right side from the systemic circulation. So, but the difference is that this one is unoxygenated, this one is oxygenated, right? So, at the same time. Same also on the ventricles. So, valves at the same time open, AV valves, tricuspid and bicuspid. It opens at the same time going to the ventricles. Right ventricle, blood goes to the lungs. Left ventricle, blood goes to the aorta at the same time, okay? So that when the valves, AV valves close, so at the same time, the right and the left, the tricuspid and the bicuspid. So the valves close, cellular bloods, the pulmonary valve, and the aortic valve, they close at the same time. Open and close at the same time. You understand? Okay. 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 So in that case, so when the ventricles contract, so contract means squeeze. So the high pressure in the ventricle causes blood to flow, pushes into the aortic valve, right? Okay. Next. So in this drawing, you will see the arrow. The arrow is, this will be your aortic valve. The aortic valve open because the left ventricle contracts to squeeze the blood. It goes, it shrink a little bit. This is very, very powerful muscle. And then aortic valve open, and then the blood rushes to the aorta and go to the systemic circulation. At the same time, here, the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve is closed because of that pressure emanated coming from this. So in this case, this drawing, this is systole. Okay? Systole or contraction. So this contracts. So pressure is very high. Less pressure here on the aortic valve. That's why the blood gets out. What do you think what's happening on the right ventricle?
Same thing.
Because at the same time, the pressure will put the blood where?
The pulmonary
Pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary valve will open it. You understand, right? Okay, so when the ventricles contract, high pressure in the ventricle pushes the blood to the mitral valve and it's closing it. So when it closed, so the mitral valve is closed. Why is it so? Why is it only blood going to the aorta? Because so there's no backflow, right? Okay, good. Okay, next. When the ventricles relax, now it's relaxing. Pressure from the blood flowing backward from the aorta close the aortic valve. So when this is relaxed, look at the arrow. This is the pulmonary vein. So the blood from the pulmonary vein goes straight to the left ventricle when this is relaxed. So when this is relaxed, what happens to the left atrium? It contracts. It squeezes the blood to the left ventricle. Okay? So now you can imagine when the right and left atria contracts, so the blood goes into the ventricles both. Okay? So when the right and the left ventricles contract, so the blood in the right ventricle go to the lungs, the blood on the left ventricle go to the aorta. Am I wasting my saliva? Or
No.
You're understanding. Okay, next. Okay, another one is when the ventricles relax, left atrium pushes the mitral valve open. So when it relaxes, of course, it opens the mitral valve so that the left atrium blood coming from the lungs will go into the ventricles. So it can only be done when the ventricles are relaxed because the mitral valve is open. Okay, so if you look here, look at the arrow again. So this is open, okay? And that is closed for a while because it's relaxed. This will only open when it contracts. This opens, this closes when it contracts. Okay, so it happens at the same time on the right and then the left. So that's why, so the examples will be both ways, simultaneously. Okay, heart sounds. So of course, when the doctor put the stethoscope in our heart, so the doctor hear a sound. You know, the stethoscope auscultate is that to put that diaphragm into your heart. So there is what you call a lub-dub sounds. A lub is a first sound, bigger than the dub, which is the second sound. Okay? Okay, so what is this about? So there are two heart sounds, S1 or lub when the AV valve shut or closed, and S2 or dub when the similar valves are shut. Okay? Okay. So in this case, the doctor can always put somewhere the stethoscope that it can hear in the area of the location of the sound and the timing of the sound. So you have the tricuspid valve here, you have the bicuspid valve here. So it's up to the doctor to put it where, and that is the location where the doctor will put the stethoscope or the diaphragm of the stethoscope. Okay, so that is our S1. What's S1 again? Lub.
Love.
AV valves are? And the S2?
Dub.
Valve closed. Okay. So, okay, now let's go to the cardiac cycle. We will have to relate this to the EKG that we learned, the PQRST. So in general, when you describe cardiac cycle, it's a series of relaxation and contraction, okay? The diastole is relaxation, the systole is contraction. Please remember, when it's contraction, it's squeeze. When it squeezes, blood gets out. Relaxation, diastole, because the muscles are relaxed, the blood flows into that particular area. Okay. So, and remember, we have 4 chambers, and these 4 chambers, it has to be a steady flow, series of flow, from the right to the left side of the heart. Okay, so in this, so ventricular diastole and systoles contract at the atria due to the nodal delay. So the nodal delay is the firing of the electric signal. So remember again, there is no NMJ, there's no neuromuscular junction. So the heart is auto-rhythmic. It will fire out by itself from the SA node. So that's how it is. So remember on our past lecture, so if your SA node is very strong, that's the best fire, the first fire. Like it can go up to 80 beats per minute. If your SA node is very weak, so your AV node will fire up, but it will be like 60, and then so on and so forth. The conjunctival maybe 20, so that's not enough for you for your heart to beat 75 beats per minute. So if your heart will not beat less than that, will beat less than 75, it's a bradycardia. You will end up dizzy. Your oxygen level of your tissues are very low. So you've got to attain that particular normal heartbeat, which is 75. 75 in general, I mean, the range, there's a range, but 75 is the average. Okay, here are the steps of the cardiac cycle. 1, ventricular filling phase. So what happens when there's ventricular filling? AV valve open, the blood oozes to the ventricles. The ventricles are relaxed, right? And then you have isovolumetric contraction phase when the ventricles are already filled up. So it will start the action potential. And then ventricular ejection phase is when the blood from the ventricles get out to the lungs on the right and the left to the aorta. And then isovolumetric relaxation phase is when there is no activity. Okay? So in other words, it's a T mode in your EKG. Okay, so if you look at here, the cycle, so number 1 cycle, ventricular filling, you see the arrow, just follow the arrow in your book. So that's filling, this is the right ventricle, right? The arrow's coming from, the blood comes from the right atrium here. On the left ventricle, the blood comes from the left atrium to left ventricle. Okay, so that's your ventricular filling. And then the next one, so blood drains from the atria into the ventricles. That's the meaning of ventricular filling. And then the next one will be isovolumetric contraction phase, the beginning of the ventricular contraction or systolic. So what happens here is that, so the AV valve will close, and then you will hear the first sound, right? Because the AV valve closed, because the ventricles are already filled up. So AV valve means the tricuspid or the bicuspid. So pressure is not high enough yet to open the semilunar valve. When the pressure comes in, so the semilunar valve will open on the aorta side and then the pulmonary side. Okay, so that would be your isovolumetric in contraction phase, or we call this EDV, or end diastolic volume, because if you look here, this is filled up, right? Ventricle filled up, left ventricle filled up. The arrows pointing to the pulmonary trunk, to the lungs. The arrow pointing to the aorta, it means the blood is oozing from the ventricles on the right to the lungs, on the left to the aorta. Okay? So in this case, so the AV valve is closed, S1 sound, but the semilunar is open. Okay? So please remember, I told you the rule of the thumb. When the AV valves close, the semilunar valves open. When the semilunar valves close, the AV valves open. Okay? Okay. So all of these here, AV valve closes. This is your end diastolic volume, the volume of the blood in the ventricles. That has to be ejected to the lungs and then to the aorta. Okay. So in this case, we have ejection. So this is not ejection, this is the true contraction phase. So pressure in the ventricle rises, and then these pulmonary trunk and aorta valve open. Okay? Pushed open, rapid outflow of the blood from ventricles, and then pressure of the pulmonary trunk approaches the ventricles. So that's how it is. So in this case, you have your 70 ml of blood pumping from each ventricle. 70 ml of blood pumping to the lungs, 70 ml of blood pumping to the aorta. Okay? So about 50 of blood remains in the ventricle. So please remember these numbers, 70 ml, okay, ejection, and then end diastolic volume is 50. So 70 plus 50 is how much? 120,
120.
right? So the ventricles in the beginning will be filled up with 120. So 70 goes out, the 50 remains. That's the end diastolic volume, okay?
So he says 120 filled up?
Next, so this is the ejection phase again. So now we have the isovolumetric relaxation. What does it mean? Ventricular diastole begins and pressure the ventricles. The pressure of the ventricles decrease, so it's going into the relaxation mode. So in this case, so you hear the second heart sound, which is the pulmonary trunk, and then the pulmonary trunk valve or pulmonary valve close, which is your semilunar, and the aortic valve close. So that's the second sound. So then pressure in the ventricle, yes, remain closed so that the AV valves close. This also, you'll hear this second sound. At the beginning, yes, it will close the AV as well, but after a while, when the atria squeeze or contract, so the valves, AV valves will open and fill up again the ventricles. Okay? So that's the blood is either injected or entering in this kind of isovolumetric. That's why it's called isovolumetric. So iso is same. So that's your end systolic volume. You have your EDV and you have the ESV. Okay? So this is the end systolic volume, what remains in the ventricles. So ventricles diastole begin, A valves are still closed, atrial diastole continues, and SL valves are closed. Semilunar valves are closed. That's your end systolic. Okay? Okay, so pressure changes here. So the maximum pressure in the ventricle is 28 millimeter mercury. So we are trying now to interpret the lines, the graph. So green line represents pressure changes in the right ventricle, and then there's a pressure in the right ventricle that will exceed the pulmonary trunk, and then that pressure ranges from 10 to 28 millimeter. But if you look here, the maximum will be 28 millimeter mercury. So the green line, so this is the green line here, and this is the blue line. If you look at here, this is the pressure of the pulmonary trunk. So the right ventricle has a little bit less or more green, and this is the pressure of the pulmonary trunk. And it allows the blood coming from the ventricle to be ejected by the pulmonary trunk because of the difference of pressure. Remember again, the higher the pressure is the stronger it is to push. The lower the pressure is accepting the blood. So because there has to be always a pressure gradient so that the blood will move, just like water. So osmosis, so there's always two different concentration gradient. One is low, one is high. So the high one that's the beginning of the flow going out. The low one receives the blood. Okay, so, here, you see here, this is the pressure in the ventricle left and the aorta. That's the left ventricle on the muscles, and then this is the aorta, the pink. So more or less, this becomes so high, so high, so high, and then this opens up, and there's also that pressure coming in the aorta, but the green pressure in the left ventricle is higher so that the blood can move out to the aorta. Okay, so we connect this electrical signal and events in the heart. We call it Wigner's diagram of the heart. Okay, so now when you connect the cardiac cycle and the EKG wave and the heart sound and the pressure changes in the aorta and the pressure changes in the volume, so that's what you get all in all on the physiology of the flow of the blood in the heart. Okay, so let's go one by one. So this will be your EKG. Let's look at the wave. So the ventricular filling is a P to the R wave. And then the isovolumetric contraction is your S wave, from the R wave to S wave. Your ejection is from S to T. So this is the true contraction. Ejection means blood from the right ventricle go to the pulmonary trunk, and the blood from the aorta, from the left ventricle go to aorta. That's your S and a T. And if you look here on the 4, isovolumetric relaxation, there's no flow of the blood, right? But the sound, the S sound is the closing of the semilunar valves. The S one is the closing of your AV valves.
What is can you go back over 2?
2?
Yeah, the
isovolumetric contraction phase. So you have your EDV, end diastolic volume there.
But what would the wave be on the EKG? What would be the...
And that will be on the EKG, that will be the R, S. go to T. So this portion here. You have the R, right? And that you have your S. The true ejection, the true contraction will occur here from S to V. Only, you know, the spike means the electric load, because that signifies highest action potential. And then the consequence of action potential is contraction, right? So you do not measure the contraction here, but this is the contraction here when the ventricles squeeze. You're measuring the pressure here. You're measuring the electric signal, which is the beginning of action potential. QRS, remember what's QRS? Depolarization of ventricles. P is depolarization of the atria. Okay? Okay, so let's move. Heart sound. So, heart sound is, you see these, that is the end of your isovolemic contraction when the AV valve closed, and that portion, at that instant, the ventricles are filled with blood. And it's trying to increase its pressure so that it goes, the blood really flow into the aortic valve or pulmonary trunk. It opens up when the pressure of the ventricles is very high. Okay, pressure changes on the left side of the heart. So this is the left ventricle and the left atria. So opening and closing of valves dependent on the pressure changes in the heart chambers, right? So in this case, you have the pressure changes. You look at the aortic pressure, the pink, and this is your another pressure here, atrial, this is the ventricular pressure here. It goes hand in hand here, but it has to be, the ventricles or the muscles of the ventricles will be a little bit higher than the pressure of the aorta so that the blood gets out from the aorta. It should not be the other way around. So this is the volume of the blood that flows into the different kinds, in the 4 different phases of cardiac cycle. Okay, so changes on the left side, yes, if you look again, so that's the atrial pressure, that's the ventricular pressure. So again, you see the blood flowing out of the 2 ventricles. Okay, so that's how the EKG cardiac cycle, okay, that we did, EKG cardiac cycle, closing and opening of the valves. Okay, so let's go now to the control. Again, no